What's going on, everybody? This is Michael from MTG Anarchy, where we take a look into the world of Magic the Gathering and throw a little bit of mischief and chaos into the mix. How is everybody doing today? I am actually doing great. I am currently working, but I had a thought that I wanted to continue on, especially when it comes to the varieties, the variations, the versions of specific cards with that Wizards of the Coast is doing. And I wanted to bring this topic back up. So again, I do just want to let people know ahead of time that there probably will be background noise. I do apologize about that. I do have pets, I am currently working, and I live in an apartment complex, so things do happen here. But aside from that, if you haven't already done so, or this is the first time on the channel, I would appreciate it if you could go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can keep up to date with any new videos that do come out here on the channel of MTG Anarchy. But with that said, let's get back into that topic of discussion when it comes to variety, variations, and versions of cards that Wizards of the Coast is doing. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this specific topic back up is from a comment that I've seen. Normally, I don't go based off the comments in general, but this comment made me think a little bit. And I will have to say up front, you don't actually have to be within the market to sell these cards to understand how Wizards of the Coast is actually doing these cards, doing these products. You don't have to be in the market to understand it. As long as you understand how business in itself works. As long as you understand how a company in itself works. Now, for me personally, because I guess this is something that people bring into question, I have taken business classes. I have understood what a business does. I have been into businesses where printing is a thing. And ultimately, I just want to put it out there that when it comes to what Wizards of the Coast is doing, it's a very smart move, but it's also a dangerous game that they're playing, especially when it comes down not as so much to the players, but to the collectors of the game of Magic the Gathering. It really comes down to that. And Wizards of the Coast, to get the big old elephant in the room, they are a company that is owned by Hasbro. And Hasbro wants to make money. Wizards of the Coast wants to make money from their products. And if you've been noticing, Wizards of the Coast is taking ideas and concepts from other similar industries within the card printing process, for example, baseball, basketball, football printing industries, and trying to adapt that concept to their products. More and more recently, we've been seeing different varieties, variations, and versions of different cards. And that is a smart move from Wizards of the Coast, because when it comes down to the variation versions, Wizards of the Coast can say, hey, look, there's this type of variety and version in this specific product versus this type of variety and version in this and other product. And when it comes down to the collector, especially with the more recent set, Core Set 2021, if you're a collector of that set and you want to completely collect that set, what's in there and everything like that, it's hard to do so. Reason being is because of the amount of variety, variations, or versions of them. And especially when it comes down to specified cards, it's less likely to pull a specific card over another. And this is true for how they're printing stuff. So let's get into that. So when it comes down to Wizards of the Coast, because they're introducing more variety, variations, and versions of their cards, to their printers that they're working with, they can say, hey, look, we know that there's this many cards, there's this many types of cards that are going to be within the product, but we don't want a specific card to be overprinted over another. Therefore, within this product, we want to see this many of this type of card, this many of this type of card, and so on and so forth within the product. And especially when it comes to the different variations and versions, they can do the exact same thing. One example of this is Teferi Master of Time from Core Set 2021. Now, with Teferi Master of Time, it is a mythic, which is really hard to really get in a regular booster versus a collector's booster, of course. But see how many versions of that card there are. There's about 9 of the regular versions, around 9 of the regular versions, and you can double that with the foil versions of the different types of cards. So there's around, let's say, 18 different varieties and versions of Teferi Master of Time. And if you're a collector, that's a lot of different versions of the exact same card. That's a lot of different variations, a lot of different variety of the exact same card that you could use to pick up a playset of, which was easier than it is now. Ultimately, the varieties and versions do matter because Wizards of the Coast can potentially say to their printing process, which this is a thing that companies do, saying, we want this many of this specific card to be printed. We want this many of this other specific card printed. So when it comes down to Teferi versus, let's say, Boss Riquet or Chandra, for me, in my personal experience, when it comes to pulling these specific cards, you're more likely to pull a Basri or a Chandra over a Teferi or a Nugan. Even though there's more varieties or versions of Teferi than there is of Chandra or Basri, you're still more likely to get those specific cards than you are of a Teferi. Even though there's more different varieties or versions of Teferi out there within the market, it's something that is worrisome. Because Wizards of the Coast knows what they're doing, and they're smart to do this. They're smart to say, hey, we want this many of this type of version within our products, this type of variance within our product, and we know that people are going to search after it. They're going to try to go ahead and get this specific card if they're not already getting it from the secondary market, which, again, Wizards of the Coast does not admit that they go based off of. I mean, take a look at Double Masters. If they didn't acknowledge the secondary market, why would a product like that be priced at $300? Again, that is something there. But when it comes down to it, Wizards of the Coast actually knows what they're doing. And they are playing you as a collector, if you're a collector, to say, hey, look, in order to get this different variety or version or variance of this specific card, you're going to have to go onto the secondary market to either get it, or you're going to have to open another pack or another box. And that's Wizards of the Coast end goal. They want to sell more boxes. They want to sell more packs to players, to individuals, so then that way they can make more of a profit. And when it comes down to this variety, variation, or version sort of situation, it worries me because ultimately we're possibly in the near future, especially with what Wizards of the Coast is doing with their future products, looking at the set boosters starting with Zendikar Rising. When it comes down to it, ultimately it's worrisome because in order to collect a complete set, you have to purchase more. And especially in a time that we're dealing with now, especially with there being a limited amount being printed, especially with there being the pandemic going on, still currently going on, and especially when it comes to the limited amount that's going to other countries and everything like that, ultimately it is worrisome for the overall collector. Now, if you're just a player and you're looking to pick up 4 of, it should be easier for you to go ahead and get those cards. Because if you don't care about the version or the variety or anything like that, then that should be fine as long as you have the card to play with. And that's how we should be thinking. But again, we have collectors. We have individuals that want to complete their set. And this is why it's worrisome. So ultimately, to lay it all down, to have a conclusion on this, when it comes down to variety or version, you do not have to sell something within the market to understand how a company works, especially when it comes to Wizards of the Coast, because you could actually see it on the wall. They know what they are doing. They are limiting the specific amounts of specific varieties and versions and variances of cards that they can go ahead and send to their printers. They are doing that. If you're saying that they are not, then I don't know where you have been in the last year or so, especially with these new products that are coming out, especially with more new products that are coming out down the line. Wizards is trying to increase their product budget. They're trying to increase their income. And ultimately, the way that they're doing it is limiting the amount of variants or versions while introducing new variances or versions out into the market. It's something that's going to completely happen. It's already happening, and honestly, it's something that if you are a collector, this should be worrisome to you. If you're a player, then you know what? More variances, more versions out into the market, this should be fine. But for me personally, I think that if you're looking to go ahead and pick up any of these cards in general, any of these versions of Teferi in general, ultimately just keep in mind that if you're a collector, that it's going to take a lot more than what you expected. But with that said, those are my thoughts on this topic of discussion. Again, I do read the comments. I do go over those comments, and this is something that I did have to bring up because it is something that is concerning. And if you're an individual that is going against this, that doesn't have this sort of thought process, again, that is your own opinion. You're entitled to your own opinion, but this is mine. And honestly, like I said earlier, you do not have to be in the market to understand where the market is going, where business is going. You don't. You just have to understand how business works. And what Wizards of the Coast is doing, they're being smart about it. They're being intelligent about what they're doing and making individuals accustomed and used to this sort of thing so they can sell more product. Again, just keep an eye out for these sorts of things. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Honestly, like I said, I do read them. So again, let me know in those comments down below. But with that said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you haven't done so, I'd appreciate it if you could go ahead and like, share, or even comment in the video. I would appreciate that. That helps get this video out into the algorithm. Also, I would appreciate it, like I said earlier, if you could go ahead, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you can keep up to date with any new videos that do come out here on the channel of MTG Anarchy. And finally, I would appreciate it if you could go ahead and support your local game stores if you're financially stable, at least, because we are one community. We want a place to go back to, and your local game stores are a way to do that over your big blockbuster stores like Walmart or Target. I'd rather go to an LGS over a Walmart or a Target. But with that said, please support your local game stores. But thank you so much for watching this video. This is Michael with MTG Anarchy. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you all again soon. Thanks again.